The deeper you dive into the world of niche fragrances, the harder it will get for you to be impressed. And I think every fragrance reviewer, collector, enthusiast reaches a certain stage in their career when they become really fascinated with some very weird smelling stuff. I think almost all of us at some point go on a hunt for fragrances with notes of blood, gasoline, rubber, or whatever else. My name is Kate, this is Niche Talk, welcome to the channel. Today I prepared 7 unique fragrances that will give you a perfect balance between something that smells unusual, outstanding, and at times even weird, but is still wearable and can be used on almost a daily basis. I'll start from Tantrico from Laboratorio Olfattivo. It's not the weirdest out of these 7, but it certainly is my favorite representative of a bizarre, metaphorical forest fantasy in perfumes. Tantrico as a name, to me personally, hints at something esoteric, something meditative, about energy, about connection between souls kind of thing. But it smells like a party. It smells like a party in the forest. Very bright and very awakening. Although maybe the meaning is right there. Awaken your senses kind of thing. I don't know. Tantrico as a fragrance will present sandalwood to you in the most unique way. So here you will not hear your classic, creamy, delicate, soft sandalwood, but rather you'll get a sharp, pungent green sandalwood surrounded with the smell of juniper berries, which is very aromatic, and with a balsamic and piney undertone. Next I have Fantomas from Nasomato. Crazy dose. Very, very recognizable brand. And this one smells like you're at Formula 1, first row watching the car race, but instead of sipping on a fancy drink, you're munching on jelly beans. And jelly beans with very specific flavors. Melon, watermelon, and maybe some type of citruses. This fragrance has 2 sides to it. One that is very sweet and plasticky, and the other one that is earthy and smoky. So it's like an interplay between artificial and naturalistic smells. The notes in Fantomas are enough for this fragrance to be called unusual or weird. Listen to this: plastic, rubber, gunpowder, tropical fruits. Right? Pretty weird, but we've seen that before. We've seen plenty of fragrances that have a complete nonsense in the pyramid, but when you smell them, the scent is not nearly as unusual. It's not the case with Fantomas, because Fantomas is really bizarre. On the dry down, it gets some milkiness or creaminess, and that lactonic component, I'm not gonna lie, is very repulsive to me because it ends up smelling like an old person's house. And that's the only reason why Fantomas is really not my cup of tea. I cannot wear this fragrance, unfortunately, but I know a bunch of people who are completely obsessed with this perfume. Etat Libre d'Orange, or Eldo for short, loves their catchy names, but when it comes to their scents, they don't always match the vibe. And I think I managed to find one that has a provoking name and an equally challenging scent. It's called Fat Electrician. Check out the notes: chestnut cream, olive leaves, vetiver. Please keep in mind that these are not real notes, these are just olfactory fantasies. But when you start thinking about what chestnut cream would smell like in a fragrance, everything kind of synchronizes there. Fat Electrician opens with a mix of prickly, woody, musky cashmeran and creamy and sweet coconut. The opening is a little bit artificial and synthetic, kind of reminds me of a latex a little bit, but that artificial chemical side fades away pretty quickly and gets replaced with more green and aromatic nuances. I believe that's when the olive leaves enter the chat, and they kind of fit nicely into that woody, creamy situation there. Very interesting fragrance. It's completely unisex, and I highly recommend you to check it out if you enjoy lactonic, milky, nutty fragrances. The most amazing contemporary balsamic fragrance, Silky Wood's Elixir from Goldfield and Banks. I love it, and I think the outstanding nature of it comes from the fact that it smells like peppery, spicy rubber. or an old piece of furniture covered with a glossy finish. As I said, it's a balsamic woody fragrance with a prickly, spicy, aromatic overtone. We have Tolu balsam here, we have Peru balsam, cypriol, patchouli. Elixir is not even so much of a silky to me, to be honest. If it was a texture, it would be closer to a rubbery material. It's a warm fragrance for a cold personality, so I think it's a perfect fit for someone who doesn't like to talk much, who is not overly emotional, very observant, very intellectual, and of course very stylish, because this fragrance has a lot of style. One of the weirdest and probably most underrated fragrances from Amouage, Sunshine, the women's version. Adorable, positive, very special, quite unusual. It opens up with a bunch of apricots. And I promise you guys, I've never experienced this apricot note be so realistic in fragrances as it is here in Sunshine. Sweet, fruity, sensuous, it dries into creamy vanillic white floral heart with jasmine, with magnolia, and also we get a nutty kick from the bitter almond in heart. Of course, that is a very crucial part that makes Sunshine so identifiable. There's of course a lot going on here, but in a nutshell, it's a creamy, fruity, nutty bundle of joy. Chocolate Earth from the Canadian brand Untamed. Just like the name suggests, it's a chocolatey perfume, but with a huge, huge twist. Or maybe I'll actually rephrase that and say it the other way around. It's a one big twist of a fragrance with a massive chocolatey aspect to it. A great example of a non-conventional fragrance, and it almost tells you, yes, I'm chocolate, but not every chocolate that you find is meant to be eaten, because it's very earthy. In a nutshell, it's a super earthy fragrance, smells like wet soil. There is a mushroom note here, allegedly. So straight from the beginning, it takes you deep into a dark forest right after the rain, when you're smelling the soil, the moss, the wet trees, with a green, dull yet aromatic olfactory experience coming from all of this. And on top of that, we get a rich, balsamic, gooey layer of dark chocolate. So beautiful, guys. It's not an overly sweet chocolate that we get here. It has that moderate sweetness to it, but it's still very decadent, very warm and luscious. I'm not sure where the inspiration for this fragrance comes from, Chocolate Earth. Maybe you can let me know in the comments. I mean, it does seem pretty straightforward, but maybe there is a story there. But it's clearly an underrated fragrance. The fragrance that maybe is too complex to just wear it on a daily basis like this. Maybe it requires a personality, maybe it requires a special occasion to pull it off, but it certainly deserves way, way more love from the fragrance community. An absolutely outstanding piece. The epitome of a weird but wearable fragrance to me is Bravi from Thameen, which is a milky citrus perfume, the combo that makes absolutely no sense to my nose, does not stick in my brain, and I must admit that after getting over that phase of, ew, what's that? I kind of started appreciating it, and now I even wear it myself occasionally and quite enjoy it. So, from the weird notes, we have walnut milk and we have bitter orange. Okay, what does it actually smell like? It smells bitter, smells sweet, vanillic, and also has that bubbly, sparkling effect due to ginger and saffron that we have in the top notes. I'm not getting too much nuttiness from it. Maybe the walnut is responsible for the dry and bitter nuance in this fragrance. If I was to kind of force myself to smell something nutty in here, it would not be the actual walnut, but maybe the walnut shell. And I guess the milkiness here comes from an absolutely gorgeous tuberose in heart of the perfume. Bravi is thick, it's extraordinary, it's edgy, and I think it's going to smell fantastic in colder temperatures. This concludes my selection of weird but wearable fragrances. I'm actually super excited for the comments section under this video because I feel like with this topic, I almost opened up a Pandora box. It's extremely controversial, very subjective, and what's weird and repulsive for me is gonna smell like the most logical and gorgeous thing for you. So let's have a bit of a discussion there in the comments. Please like this video, subscribe to the channel if you enjoy our content, and as always, I will see you in the next video.